Yes, indeed. It's deadline day here on the Kirby on Sports podcast, episode 235. We'll run down sort of a big trade, two big trades in the league and the impact it makes on some teams. Other headlines, including the Colts loss and the Packers loss. We'll touch on our teams in the home team report as the Ravens get a win, the Bills over the Chiefs, and the Commanders with a victory. And as always, the Kirby on Sports pick 'em to round out the show. This is episode 235 of the Kirby on Sports podcast coming up next. Yes, what a way to bring in episode 235 of the Kirby on Sports podcast. Then a brand new intro to the Kirby on Sports podcast. Had to get it updated with the three-man booth involved since they've been a big help in what this podcast is today. So again, welcome to episode 235 of the Kirby on Sports podcast. Huge thanks to all of our sponsors: Frederick County Parks and Recreation, PM Plus Reserve, Shenandoah Primitives, Mark Francis with Icon Real Estate, Bear Pest and Termite Services, Mark Lynch with Guild Mortgage, Shenandoah Music, Icon Media, On the Road Driving School, New Look Landscaping, The Cider House, Barry Pearson with Equipment Share Advanced Solutions at 540-935-1069, and the official energy drink of the Kirby on Sports podcast, Dense Sleep Energy. You can use promo code KOS Podcast for 12% off your order every single time. We won't waste any time. Unfortunately, Carlos is not in the building, not in the house tonight, but we hope to see him back next week. We do have the weapon, Dan Dembski, with us. What is going on, buddy?
Guess Carlos is running due to that loss. No, I'm just kidding. Had to get that cracking. I'm doing all right, man. I'm a little bit where you were last week, so a little bit under the weather, but hanging in there. Glad to be here. Glad to talk about another exciting, really exciting, maybe the most exciting week of NFL action thus far, man. It's so many great games that came down to the end. Some NFL history as well this Sunday. So a lot of great games. Excited to talk about all of it and get excited for the trade deadline as well. We've had some big moves there that we're going to touch on as well.
Your thoughts on the intro video?
Looks good. I'm glad that we were included heavily as a three-man booth. I think it shows just the collective work of this podcast. Obviously, your guidance and leadership, but also everything Carlos has done and my small role, I think, in the podcast. So that was nice to see, and I hope the fans enjoyed as well.
Yeah, the only issue I ran into is finding an updated headshot of you, which I could not do. So
well, I will have to take a good one and send it to you, because I honestly don't have any updated ones. That one from 2018 is like the newest one I got. So it's time to do some work on my end to get you a new picture, I think, for sure.
Yeah, I'm playing. So glad you're with us. Episode 235 of the Kirby on Sports podcast. Some headlines to get you all started. So trade deadline happenings. We will get you connected. The trade deadline is over as the time of this taping of the Kirby on Sports podcast. This involves the Colts, the Cowboys, the Jets. Mm-hmm. The Jets shipping Quinnen Williams to the Cowboys. Yeah, I mean, he could have been of good use come Monday night, but that's another story for
A lot
another
of
day.
teams, I think, were after him for sure. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, Sauce Gardner to the Colts.
Yeah,
And
huge.
an unrelated move from the Bengals, Logan Wilson to the Cowboys. Not really much to add there, but with Quinnen Williams from the Jets to the Cowboys and Sauce Gardner from the Jets to the Colts, this now gives the Jets in 2026 a first round pick, a
Yep.
first round pick via the Colts, a second round pick, a second round pick via the Cowboys. This is in 2026. In 2027, a first round pick, a first round pick via the Colts, and a first round pick via the Cowboys. Huge draft capital for the New York Jets, as right now it's evident that they are struggling heavily and investing for the future with the youth that comes in the NFL draft. According to Ari Miroff, my sports update on X, this is the only stipulation. The trade for Quinnen Williams has been frozen. So I'm going to read it exactly how he tweeted it on X. The Cowboys' decision to send the higher of their two 2027 first round picks, their own or the Packers, to the Jets for Quinnen Williams has created a freeze on both selections.
Hmm.
Neither can be used or dealt until the end of the 2026 season. So I have to add that in there into this headline segment in case for some reason this trade might not go through, which that's beyond my expertise, but I have to tag that in there just in case. But for the time being, those picks I listed are the picks in which the Jets would have if everything goes according to plan. But again, that's still in the early stages. I'm not really sure, and I haven't really heard anything more.
Yeah, and this is just an example of where the Jets are right now, right? They want that draft capital at this point. They know the season is lost. They're trying to get younger as well, which I totally understand. I think the Quinnen Williams move especially kind of proves that to me. But I'll also say that they're also offloading quite a large amount of salary as well. So that's just another example of trying maybe this off season. We'll see if the Jets end up being buyers at some point. To go out and try to get a couple of free agents, before the draft of their own, which I could see happening as well. I mean, this team is in a situation now where you have two really good players that they're simply not winning with, right? So you have to do something new. You have to change it up. And to me, it just makes a lot of sense for the Jets to make these moves, and to further, which is something we have talked about on this podcast, not waste the talents of two really good players as well, rotting away on a team that is not successful, quite simply, and hasn't been successful for some time. So I think it makes a lot of sense for both sides in this situation. I think especially the Sauce Gardner trade to me makes the Colts a lot better in the secondary. And to me, this move is, it's simply, it's to me, it just makes a lot of sense. They saw what Aaron Rodgers did to that secondary on Sunday. I know we're going to talk a little bit more about that game, but and just their general struggles there in the secondary. I don't think that was the biggest area of their team that needed to be improved upon, but I think this move makes a lot of sense. It makes the Colts a better football team, and I think also in the reciprocal effort, it also makes the Jets, like you mentioned, have those extra draft picks, have a chance to draft well, and then also save some money in this offseason to go and get some other big name players. So these trades make sense all around. I think both teams came out pretty well, and I'm interested to see how Sauce Gardner is able to do on the Colts. I think that's going to be a really interesting thing to see in a very quarterback heavy conference as well in the AFC. He'll certainly be tested pretty early on. I mean, obviously he was in the AFC before, so that's that is what it is. But he's going from a team that was one win to a team that just has. I think the Colts now have 2 losses. So just interesting to see, and again, I think it makes a lot of sense for both teams at this juncture to make those types of moves.
The only issue I see is the Colts giving up a first rounder for Sauce Gardner,
Sure.
which I don't think it's a huge issue, but just looking at where the Colts are, and I know they fell to the Steelers, but they've been trending upwards with the success they've had this season. You would think they would want to add on to that with maybe a first round talent in some capacity, you would think. But I guess the Colts really wanted to work on their defense and they thought a first rounder would be worth it.
Right, and I think too you got to think about the injuries and some of the depth issues they have. You know, they got Charvarius Ward before the season started, and he has battled injuries kind of since then. So they've been kind of more thin in the secondary, especially. You know, you have to have a deep bench with the secondary, right? We understand how that is, and to go out and get a number one corner makes a ton of sense, I think, for the Jets. And you know, I get the concerns with the first round pick, but to me, it's those things are most of the time you can't predict how that first round pick's going to do, right? You just don't know. It's nice to have a stockpile of picks, but you can see the Colts are aggressive. They want to go out and build that team that can make a deep playoff run now. And I think, we're going to talk about how they played on Sunday, but you know, I think this move helps them a lot in the long run, makes their defense a lot more competitive and a lot better. And yeah, like I said, sometimes you have to give up that first round pick for it. So I think for me, it makes sense that they made this move, and you know, I like it. I like it from their end.
Yeah, so that's pretty much the only notable
Yep.
trade, because trade deadline's over and not, I mean, moves, but nothing blockbuster that needs to be heavily covered. Washington Commanders, to throw them in, they did not make a move. They did not deal anybody out. So they are looking about the same as they were before the trade deadline as well. Moving on in the headline segment, my man Dan Dembski, two, I would say, upsets. The Colts falling to the Steelers. I mean, the Steelers, first off, for the Colts, just coming in and seeing how well they were doing, the Steelers looked to put on an absolute show. And the Colts trying to mount a comeback, but didn't. They fall to the Steelers 27-20. And the Panthers coming into Lambeau and defeating the Packers 16-13. My question here in this headline segment, which upset is more surprising? And I know Carlos mentioned, at least for the Colts are on fraud alert. Are any of these two teams, do we think, are on fraud alert?
So I want to touch on both. I think the biggest surprise to me was the Panthers going into Lambeau and winning and holding the Packers to just 13 points. That to me is the bigger surprise. And again, Bryce Young didn't play that great in this game. I mean, it was very, very much a defensive battle. So you got to give the Panthers defense a ton of credit for being able to slow down Jordan Love and just the way this offense is played. So that to me is the bigger upset. I'll say for me, I'm not concerned necessarily with the Packers. I think generally, you know, it's any given Sunday, right? And I think we've seen, especially especially this season, it seems like there's been more upsets or at least more close games than we expected. I think in a lot of these matchups. So that's why you play the game, right? You just don't know, and this is the kind of loss for the Packers that I think could definitely help make them more resilient as they try to make a run here in the second half of the season to improve on the things they didn't do well, which obviously offensively was a mess in this game for the Packers. Just not a lot of consistency on that side of the ball. And they can fix these issues for sure. I'm definitely more concerned with the Colts' loss to the Steelers, and not just that they lost, but the fact that this game could have been and should have been on the scoreboard at least a lot more of a wider gap between Pittsburgh and Indy. The Steelers' defense, you have to give them pretty much all the credit in this game.
Absolutely.
They were dominant, right? They got pressure. They forced Daniel Jones to turn the ball over several times. Obviously, 3 interceptions. I think he also had a fumble as well. I'd have to check to see because I know he was strip sacked at least once in this game. So 4 turnovers they forced of Daniel Jones, who has had an amazing season with the Colts, right? Almost a shock to I think a lot of people that he has made that regression. It seems so, or progression rather. Regression would be the other way. The progression to becoming a really good passer this year in the NFL. But you got to give the Steelers credit. I think a lot of people doubted how good their defense was. Their pass rush before this game really hadn't impressed me much from that respect. But their defense was just suffocating in this game. And like I said, I think this game definitely could have been worse on the scoreboard. I think the Colts' issues offensively, not just Daniel Jones, but also the fact they weren't able to really run the football. I mean, Jonathan Taylor only had 45 rushing yards. Like, this is a problem for me. And I'm not going to go as far as what Carlos said that they're on fraud alert, because I think one game you can't really make a determination that they're frauds. I will say if they string together 2 or 3 games in a row and we're starting to see these similar patterns, and they're losing, then they're definitely frauds. I think there's a line there that they haven't necessarily, a threshold they haven't met, at least in my view, that they're frauds. So, again, credit to what Pittsburgh was able to do, and also Aaron Rodgers played pretty well. He didn't turn the football over, and was just pretty solid on offense. The Steelers themselves only had 38 rushing yards, so Aaron Rodgers was pretty much the bulk of their offense in this game. And this receiving core, which, again, credit to Rodgers, he spread the ball out really well, and I think that's what most impressed me, is there really wasn't one receiver that was dominant. I mean, there were 5 or 6 guys that were really contributing, and quite frankly, throwing the Colts defense off, which again I think is another reason they went and got Sauce Gardner, because their secondary was not making the plays when they had to, for sure. So, great win by Pittsburgh. I'm a little concerned of Daniel Jones in this offense, but again, to call them frauds, I think after one game is a little premature. I need to see more of a pattern to that before I jump into that lane. But definitely on alert, right? Definitely going to see if Daniel Jones in this offense can respond and recover in the way that I think a lot of people are kind of hoping they do. And they have they play what is that, in London against the Falcons on Sunday morning, or is that, Germany. So they got to go to Germany and play the Falcons now. We'll see how they can respond. Obviously, I think a lot of people are going to pick the Colts in that game, but it's all about how you respond to adversity. I think the Colts at least are. I think they're built to do that, right? I think they're fine to respond to adversity in that respect. But this game was a surprise to me for sure. Not as much, again, as the Panthers beating the Packers by 3 and really just suffocating that Packers offense, which has been clicking all season. So, I want to get your thoughts though, Kirby. I want to know what you think about these 2 games and where you'd rank them necessarily as far as biggest upset.
Well, I think the bigger upset, obviously, Carolina going into Lambeau Field. It's always a tough place to play in Green Bay. So I will start there. It seems like a trend I've seen the past couple weeks, just in the small sample size that I've seen with Green Bay in the past 2-3 weeks. It seems like Green Bay is playing down to their opponents, which I don't really like that, because I know that this Green Bay Packers team is capable of so much more, and I can't really pinpoint what the issue is when it comes to the Green Bay Packers. But they have a good coaching staff. They've been to the playoffs before. I feel like this could be an easy fix, but it's going to be harder too, because tight end Tucker Kraft, he's out for the season. So that's one weapon. Yeah, a big loss that we didn't really touch on at the top. But, I mean, not having Tucker Kraft, that's another weapon you don't have for Jordan Love in the Packers offense. And I feel like if the Packers continue to play down to the level of their competition, then they might lose more games than expected. But again, you could easily avoid that by just sticking to your game plan and coming out and playing Green Bay Packers branded football. I'm not entirely too concerned, but if I still see the same trend in weeks to come, then there's going to be a problem in my mind on what's going on with this Green Bay Packers team. And you got to give a lot of credit to the Carolina Panthers because the Panthers, they were absolutely atrocious last year. Rico Dowdle's making a big impact as running back coming over from Dallas, and he's really making his mark and doing really great things. Panthers defense stepping up and doing what needs to be done. But I think this move to get a young coach in Dave Canales is really paying off. And this Panthers team already tied the amount of wins from last season.
Good point.
So it's fun watching this Panthers team compete. They're more of a middle of the pack team than a bottom of the barrel team, if you will, Dan. And just seeing them play is fun at times. And, other times they won't always get the winning result. Obviously, Bryce Young was out. You had Andy Dalton, and they did not put on a great showing. Yeah. But with Bryce Young, I think they're getting some stuff done. I'm not going to go as far as saying they might make a push for the playoffs, but still, they're a fun team to watch, and they've gotten out of that bottom of the barrel category. So that's my thoughts there. I'm not. Go ahead. Sorry.
No, I think too in this division, like, who's really going to challenge them, right? Like, Atlanta has been a mess. New Orleans is a mess. I'm missing one other team. Shoot. All right, let me check on
Bucks.
The Bucks. Okay, the Bucks are the team that's probably going to make the playoffs.
Yeah.
But this is a team where I could see them sneaking in, especially now that for a few years we've had that extra playoff spot, that wild card spot. I could see them getting in, especially because, let's face it, this year there's so many middle-of-the-road teams in the NFL. Like, this feels like a season where we've seen so many teams that we just don't know. We don't have an identity on them, whether they're a great team or whether they're a bad team yet. So anything's possible. I do think Bryce Young does have to play better. His stats in this game weren't great, but I mean, you said it. It's all about the running game for this Panthers offense, and Rico Dowdle was amazing in this game. I mean, he had basically a career game, and I'm impressed with this Panthers offensive line too. If they continue to block like this and get that extra push, I could see them. I could see them sneaking in the playoffs at the end of the year, for sure. But I think it's also just, again, the story with a lot of teams, right? Like, we just don't know. Like, week to week, we just don't know who the great teams are. I think we have an idea of who, like, the top 3 or 4 teams are in the NFL. But outside of that, it's just there's everyone else, right? And the Panthers are kind of in that group right now. So they could be a team that could surprise some people in December, and maybe they'll be playing in January. I don't want to say it yet, but I think they have a defense that's good enough to make them competitive. It's just a matter of, will their running game be able to keep up, and will Bryce Young be able to limit the turnovers? Because as we saw last year, that was the biggest issue that the Panthers had. They just turned the football over constantly, and I think Bryce Young overall has done a better job this year protecting the football. So, and like you said, I'm not worried about Green Bay. I think they'll be fine. This is every team has a stinker of a game. This to me is theirs, and again, it's a 3-point loss. Sure, it's at home, and sure, it's to the Panthers, but I think you can delete the tape after watching it once and kind of move forward. I think Green Bay is going to be fine.
And quickly, I'll just give my thoughts. The Colts, I think they're a really good football team. Mm-hmm. They've made a lot of positive strides in, I think, Daniel Jones in a new system, a new atmosphere, a new place is really helping him strive. I'm not going to go as far as saying that they are frauds, but I don't think there's enough credit given to how good the Steelers' defense is.
So good.
And offensively, too, they're spreading the ball out, like you mentioned, Dan, and they're making good things happen. So I think the Colts just came up against a Steelers team who really wanted to show America how good this Steelers team looks. And be like, hey, we got Aaron Rodgers and we're still going to succeed? Because I know there were question marks about picking up Aaron Rodgers and how that might go. But so far, I mean, they're doing pretty good.
Yeah, he's been good and not elite, not great. He's not what he used to be. No one's going to argue that. But the biggest thing for me is he doesn't turn the football over often, right? That's always been the big thing with Aaron Rodgers. He's not his predecessor in Green Bay, Brett Favre, who's gonna take some chances and throw a lot of picks. So, I mean, the big thing for me is he's been protecting the football, and the Steelers' offense has enough weapons to where it makes his job definitely a little easier, and they're way better weapons than he had previously. So, with the Jets, so. Yeah, I think this is a team right now that is gonna be under the radar, and I think Mike Tomlin's one of those coaches who there's nowhere else he'd rather be right now. Obviously, they're leading the division, but I'm hoping that my team can catch them in the division and stuff like that. But yeah, people aren't really talking about the Steelers right now, and I think you have to start to notice, right? You have to start to take heed that this is a really good football team as well, and a defense that's starting to finally come alive and get pressure again that we have seen in the past. Think of the Steelers' defenses of the past, Kirby. Like, it's what they're known for, right? Forcing turnovers, getting a lot of pressure. They did that in this game. I think the question is, and I think it's the question for every defense, can you be consistent with getting pressure, with dialing up those packages and stuff like that? So, yeah, really good football game. A little concerned for the Colts, but overall, I think they'll hopefully get it sorted out. But you have to start take notice of the Pittsburgh Steelers. They're starting to play football, good football at the right time, right? November is when you really have to start to show the team you are and start to string together some wins. So they've done that so far.
Big news out of Arizona: Jacoby Brissett starting Week 10 against the Seattle Seahawks.
Yeah, it makes sense. Kyler Murray is not it. Quite frankly, we've talked about him how many weeks in a row on this podcast? And
I think we talked about it last week or the week prior, and here it is, Jonathan Gannon going out and making a decision to start Jacoby Brissett, who has put up numbers and made some stuff happen for this Arizona Cardinals team, and it's led to be very successful thus far.
Yeah, he's been solid, Brissett. He gives them a chance to win, right? That's all you want. And the simple thing is Kyler Murray hasn't done that, and he hasn't proven that yet. So, yeah, I think Kyler's time as a starting quarterback could be in trouble. This could be the point in his career where he starts to become the backup quarterback who bounces around to different teams. I'm not saying it's going to happen. He could change his career path, but I just think right now the trajectory is not good for Kyler Murray, and a guy that was taken so early with so much potential, and he just hasn't met those expectations for the Cardinals. So totally get that move. I think it makes sense, and we'll see what happens next with Kyler Murray. I think that'll be an interesting development to follow for sure.
Last but not least, short and sweet, Cam Little nails a 70-yard field goal in preseason. The record doesn't count. He's like, screw this. I'll just nail a 68-yarder in the regular season, and gets the record.
Great kick. And, God, we've talked about this as well. Like, these kickers in the NFL are so good. I mean, they can make these insanely long kicks. I wouldn't be surprised if someone tries to upstage him this season, right, because the kickers are that good. But heck of a kick for Cam Little. Love that moment for him. He's in the record books now, and so, I don't see anyone taking that away from him anytime soon. I don't see
Brandon Aubrey.
Could be Brandon Aubrey, right? And maybe if they I don't know if when they play at Denver, if they do in the next few years, but could see it happening there, right? But great kick, great moment for him. He's in the record books, and that was he cleared that kick, Kirby. Like, that was like, it wasn't like it bounced through, right? That was a clean kick, and I'm just impressed with kickers these days in the NFL. They can simply make every kick, and there's so much pressure. It's crazy.
Oh yeah. A lot of fun. That's the headline segment. Episode 235 of the Kirby on Sports podcast rolls on. We get into the home team report when we return. You don't want to miss it right here on the Kirby on Sports podcast. for sports fans living in condominium and homeowners associations, as well as business professionals. When you need a reserve study, PM Plus Reserves has been in business since 1990. Their studies are accurate and easy to understand. Check them out when your association needs a study. www.pmplusreserves.com. You can also contact them at 703-803-8436. Once again, www.pmplusreserves.com. Is it finally time to upgrade your home's interior? How about with an authentic farm table made locally from recycled barnwood? Shenandoah Primitives, based right here in Winchester, Virginia, makes farm tables, benches, tables, coffee tables, and a long list of other items for your home decorating needs. At Shenandoah Primitives, function and style are combined for great furniture that will last generations. If you're interested in combining the industrial look of metal with wood, or considering something incredibly unique with a live edge, Shenandoah Primitives turns those ideas into reality. Thinking about a mirror, wine rack, or other accent piece for your home, Shenandoah Primitives can assist with that as well. As a local small business, Shenandoah Primitives is happy to work with each client for a custom design or schedule an appointment to come out and view current inventory. Local, high-quality, handmade items can be found at Shenandoah Primitives. Find us on Facebook and Instagram or visit us at www.shenandoahprimitives.com.
Hey there, Kirby on Sports the Podcast fans. Mark Francis with Icon Real Estate here for you. Remember, if you have any real estate needs, buying or selling, I'm your guy. I would love to help you out. And you can also find me on my own personal podcast, Iconic Talk, where you get a chance to learn about the local real estate market and why Winchester is an amazing place to live. Reach out to me anytime, 540-247-1527, and find Iconic Talk anywhere you get your podcasts.
And we welcome you back to episode 235 of the Kirby on Sports podcast. So glad you're with us. I'm Josh Kirby. Carlos is out, but I do have the weapon, Dan Dembski, alongside. Time for the home team report. Thursday night, the Baltimore Ravens get another win on the road in Miami. I don't really have much to say on this one, to be honest, Dan, other than the Dolphins are trending in the very wrong direction, and the Ravens, a much-needed 2-game winning streak, getting back on the right track. Still a long way to go, but a lot of positivity from the Ravens and leaving more questions in a GM that has parted ways with the Miami Dolphins.
Yeah, this is, the big headline here is, it's pretty obvious, is Lamar Jackson's back, right? 4 touchdown passes in prime time, just 5 incomplete passes, 200 yards. He was great. Against a defense that, quite frankly, is not very good, right? Like, this is the kind of game that we needed to see from the Ravens in general, where both sides of the ball look put together and buttoned up. And you could see, like, their demeanor. Like, they know every game from here on out is a playoff game. I know I talked earlier about what a great job that Aaron Rodgers has done spreading the ball out, but I think Lamar has also done a good job of that as well. Obviously getting Charlie Kohler involved, the third-string tight end, after Mark Andrews and Isaiah Likely aren't enough. You get the third-string tight end involved, which how many teams have 3 tight ends that are an active part of their offense? It's just another thing that Todd Monken has done a good job of, I think, with this offense, is dialing up plays to get guys who aren't normally involved in typical circumstances involved in the passing game and in other ways. And then Derrick Henry, what can you say about him? Another 100-yard game for him, and just looked really good running the ball. 6.3 yards per carry for Derrick Henry in this game. Just, again, taking advantage of a defense that has a lot of issues, and especially tackling is a big concern for the Dolphins defense, and the Ravens took advantage of that in this game. And also on top of this, they also get sort of a mini bye, right? They get the extra 3 days to rest as well to get ready for Sunday. So I like everything about this game for the Ravens. I don't really have a ton to add to that necessarily. I will say the defense was magnificent against Tua Tagovailoa. We know about Tua's struggles throwing the football. We've seen it all season, right? He's just not right? Like he's not what he was a couple years ago. He's not what we at that point had come to expect. He's definitely regressed at that position. And the Ravens secondary, again, they needed a game like this to get pressure, to force turnovers, to just look like the old Ravens defense. And to me, they did that in this game as well. I mean, Tua's numbers are insane. No touchdown passes, 1 pick, and his QBR was 22.9, which is just insane to wrap your head around. I think the Ravens, again, this was the kind of game we talked about them needing. We talked about it in last week's podcast. They needed to come out on Thursday night, and they needed to, quite frankly, as Carlos would say so eloquently, put belt to ass. They needed to do that, and they did that in this game. So a great win for the Ravens. The Dolphins are a complete mess. I mean, we've talked about them most of the season. Obviously, now with the GM gone, it looks like Tua is going to be the guy going forward, and it looks like Mike McDaniel is going to stick around a little longer too with his team. I would blame most of the struggles of this Dolphins team on Tua. He's just not helping them. And I think a change at the quarterback position is needed for the Dolphins to salvage anything from the season and to maybe string together a couple of wins, because Tua's not going to get it for you right now. He's not going to get it done for you right now. So, and then defensively, the Dolphins, they offer no resistance at all, right? They give up big play after big play. I can't recall the Ravens having a ton of 3rd and longs in this game, which if your defense is not able to get the offense into 3rd and long, it's probably going to be a long day for them. And that was kind of the case for the for the Dolphins defense in this game. They just couldn't get off the field. So that's kind of my immediate thoughts in this game. I don't have a ton to add as well. I was very happy, not really worried most of the night. Obviously with a 14-6 halftime lead, I was a little concerned because I know, the Ravens are not usually a third quarter team, but they come out in the third, they score 14 unanswered, and that carries them the rest of the way. And I really can't complain. They're starting to get healthy again, which is so important to see. That secondary, especially, which has been so depleted, and obviously getting Lamar back. That's the biggest thing. And I think as long as we have Lamar Jackson in an offense that, clicks this way and runs the football this well, I think the Ravens can, quite frankly, beat anybody. But actions speak louder than words. That phrase, for some reason, was lost in my head. The Ravens have to go out there and they have to prove it week to week, right? This is a grind. This last half of the season, they have to basically win out. As Carlos alluded to last week, they may have a 2-game cushion. So you have to treat every game like a playoff game. They did on Thursday night. I was happy with the results and how it went. And obviously looking forward to seeing what they can do on the road in Minnesota, which is a interesting team right now with getting J.J. McCarthy back. So we'll see how their defense is able to respond and able to play against J.J. McCarthy with the second week back. So I'm excited. I'm excited for this team, and this may be one of the hardest games on the schedule left as well. So once you get this game in the rearview mirror, if you win, things are looking pretty good. Mostly divisional games left, obviously with a couple of outliers, the Patriots, and on the road at Lambeau Field, the Packers. But as we saw, you can go on the road and beat the Green Bay Packers. It doesn't seem to be out of the realm of possibility now. So I'm happy with this team. I'm happy with the way they're trending. And, quite frankly, I think I don't think I have anything much else to add to this win. I was happy with how it went, and they beat up on a bad football team, quite frankly, and a team they had to beat, and they did.
Miami, there is a lot going on down there, and it's not good. As you mentioned, they fired their GM. Things just don't seem to be working out. They've already announced they're not making a coaching change. McDaniel's there at least till the end of the football season, but I can't really put my finger on what has to change, but it's just really not looking good for the Miami Dolphins, period.
Yeah, and I think when you can't put your finger on one problem, I think it's everything. It's a culture problem. It's personnel. It's your scheme on both sides of the ball. Nothing's been good, right? There's not one point of the game for the Dolphins where you can point at it and say, yeah, that's been pretty solid or that's been serviceable. I don't think any area has had that. So, I mean, you nailed it, right? Like they have too many issues right now to sort out. And it's not going to sort itself out in this season. This is going to be something they're going to see through to the end. At least it appears. And there's reporting that they'll keep Mike McDaniel through week, I guess it's technically week 18, the last game of the season. So we'll see. We'll see what happens. I'm not sure if I like the idea of them keeping him the whole time. I mean, I guess I see it from a schematic standpoint, right? Like you want to make sure things are as bad as they seem. But barring some sort of miracle, I think they finish out the season in very rough shape as they've played it as well. So they have a lot. They have a lot to address and a lot to fix down the road. I think it starts with the quarterback. Like I said, it starts with the quarterback. You got to have the right guy in there, and they don't right now.
So I'm going to pose a question here to
Sure.
you, Dan, as a Ravens fan. I mean, they're looking better. Lamar Jackson is back. Do you think there is a possibility with sustaining success and continuing to go on a winning streak? Do you think there's any potential shot that this Ravens team might be able to sneak into the playoffs? Again, I'm just asking, just for the sake of asking in this scenario.
Yeah, I think so. I think if you look at their schedule, there's a couple of competitive games, but generally, if they can win the games they're supposed to win, which is most of the games left on their schedule, yeah, I think they can get in. They might not win the division, and as I talked about earlier, trying to take down Pittsburgh might not be as easy as we thought it was. You know, at this time last week, we all thought the Ravens had a shot at the division. It could still happen. Let's not forget that Pittsburgh completely collapsed last year and lost, 7 games in a row or something to end the season. So it's possible. But, yeah, I think the Ravens can definitely make the postseason if they win the games they're supposed to win. Now, will they make a deep playoff run? With this roster, I'm going to say no. I think they have some real depth issues, especially on defense, that start to show when you get into the cold weather of January and your defense has to be at a championship level. They're not there yet. But if they get healthy, if they continue to get guys back, I could certainly see them making the playoffs. I don't think it's out of the realm of possibility because, again, you have that extra wild card spot, and even if they sneak in there, who knows? Wild card teams have been known to make some noise in the postseason as well. So, long answer to a simple question, but yeah, I definitely think they have a chance and a good shot to make the playoffs if they can win the games they're supposed to win.
Ravens are currently second in the AFC North. Upcoming matchups: Vikings, Browns, Jets, Bengals, Steelers, Bengals. I can see them winning out of those 6, 1, 2, 3, 4.
Yep.
I could see them potentially defeating the Vikings because the Vikings some weeks are really good and some weeks they're duds. And depending on what the Steelers continue to do, that might be a tough matchup. But again, if you win 1, 2, 3, 4, and if I give the Vikings game, make that 5 out of 6, they're sitting pretty good and you never know what could happen. And again, the trend week in and week out, it's any given Sunday, way we've seen games go throughout the course of this season as well.
Yeah, and that just means they have to be on it as well. Like they can't slip up against any of these teams. They can't have unnecessary losses. So, I mean, I agree with you. I think 4-2 is reasonable in the next 6 games. I'm hoping 6-0, quite frankly, of course, but realistically, that's going to be hard to do, right? Especially in the National Football League, but I totally agree with what you said. That makes a lot of sense.
So the Ravens defeating the Dolphins on Thursday night, 28-6. When we will continue, yes, we will touch on the Chiefs and the Bills and then get into the Commanders falling to the Seattle Seahawks. Much more to come right here on the Kirby on Sports podcast. Guys, Josh Kirby here with my friends at Frederick County Parks and Recreation, the title sponsor of Kirby on Sports. Winter basketball, one of their most exciting sports leagues, tipping off here soon. Registration is open until November 10th. The Thanksgiving Day 5K, one of the biggest races of the year, and the New York City trip that Parks and Recreation offers each and every winter. If you're interested in any of those or even more activities that Parks and Recreation has to offer, you can visit their website at fcprd.net for more information.
It's Jason, General Manager at Shenandoah Music, here to tell you all about...
Jay, what are you doing here?
Well, Matt, I'm trying to tell the people about our selection of guitars, basses, keyboards, drum sets.
I know that, but I always do the radio spots.
You get to have all the fun. I want to tell everyone about our huge selection, unbeatable prices, unmatched service, and in-depth knowledge.
Jay, I really don't think now is the time to discuss.
So remember, folks, when you think music, think Shenandoah Music in Winchester.
That's my line.
Bedbugs. The only thing creepier than thinking about them is actually having them. Trust me, you don't want to have them. Locally owned and operated Barrett Pest and Termite Services can keep you from having bedbug nightmares and infestations. Call 540-340-3922 to schedule your free inspection and consultation. If bedbugs are already in your home, we'll get rid of them so you can rest easy. We also specialize in keeping homes and businesses free of other pests, including rodents and termites. That's Barrett Pest and Termite Services, 540-340-3922.
Let's get it. We're back. Episode 235 of the Kirby on Sports podcast with the weapon Dan Dembski. I am Josh Kirby. Carlos is not here, Dan, but we're going to talk about another rivalry, the 10th time these two teams have met. The Bills over the Chiefs, 28-21. The Bills, just in my opinion, looked like a team that wanted to win a little bit more. Patrick Mahomes, I will say, not on his A game, but that is not a reflection of Mahomes and this Chiefs team. This is the narrative that is set year in and year out. The Bills win in the regular season, but when the playoffs come, the Chiefs know how to take care of business. I think this is the same narrative yet again, and this is how it went. The Bills just came out, and they looked like the tougher, stronger team, and they got out to a very big lead, like they wanted to just put the Chiefs away. Credit to the Chiefs for trying to find a way to come back, coming down to a Hail Mary heave that was incomplete. But it just looked like the Bills were primed, set, ready to go, and wanted this more.
Yeah, this to me felt like a Kansas City team that was kind of sleepwalking in this game, quite frankly. And I think your last sentence there is exactly how I describe it. Buffalo was rearing and ready to go. They had all the energy. They had a spark about them that just wasn't there for Kansas City throughout this game. And to me, this game, I mean, we can talk about Allen and Mahomes, which it always comes down to those two guys. But to me, this game is how the Bills responded with a defense that's been depleted, that's had a lot of injuries, that's had a lot of issues so far this season. They responded very well to the pressure of going against Patrick Mahomes in this offense. As you mentioned, Mahomes did not play well. No touchdowns, which is a shock to me. The one interception, of course. And they just made Mahomes uncomfortable. They got a lot of pressure on him. Bosa was in his face pretty much all game long, making his life miserable. And Mahomes did make some good plays on the run. Now, there's of course, that 4th and 17 play comes to mind late in the game. I think that was in the fourth quarter that Mahomes completed, that eventually they were able to make it a one-possession game. But yeah, to me, the story of this game is just how great Buffalo's defense was. They made Mahomes uncomfortable. They made the Chiefs' running game irrelevant, which this is something Carlos has talked about as his concern as well. The Chiefs not being able to run the football consistently, and they didn't in this game. They really struggled to run the football to get any sort of rhythm against this Buffalo defense. So I really just tip my cap to how that defense played, and then Josh Allen was flawless in this game. I mean, he just was. Simple as that. Just 3 incomplete passes. I mean, he had a ton of time to throw. If you compare, obviously, the offensive lines of Kansas City to Buffalo, they couldn't be more different or more opposite, in my opinion. Allen had all day to throw, time and time again. Kansas City was not able to get pressure. And again, this is something that Kansas City and Steve Spagnuolo is usually able to figure out, usually able to dial up some sort of blitzes to get quarterbacks out of their rhythm. We've seen him do it tons of times before. For whatever reason, Buffalo was able to was always one step ahead of Spags and this defense, which is something that, again, we are not used to seeing. We're used to seeing this defense kind of dominate and take over games. They were not able to do that. James Cook was also just unbelievable in this game, had a great game, busted off a couple of huge runs. And to me, this was just a complete performance by Buffalo. Obviously, the scoreboard, they only won by 7, but the Chiefs scored very late in this game and got the 2-point conversion. So, again, you're talking about another score that could have been worse. This was a complete performance. Obviously, it goes back to what you said at the top, right? Can they, if they do meet again in the playoffs, because we don't know, things could happen. This really puts the Chiefs in a tough spot now. They don't have any room for error, to be quite honest with you. With the Broncos playing similarly, not really consistently good, but they could win that division. So this is surprising for me as well from Kansas City. They're a team that's normally very good on the road. They're 1-3 this year on the road. They're just not what we are used to seeing. That being said, I still think Kansas City is going to be here at the end of this season, whether they get in as a wild card or whether they're able to win their division. It would be crazy to think they could not win their division because we're so used to seeing them run away with it by this point of the season. So I think for them, they have a ton of stuff to clean up. This offense has got to figure something out. We've talked about that consistently, and I know Carlos has talked about their struggles. I think having Rashee Rice back early in this game, you could see the impact he was making, especially in that second quarter. He was really good, right? They're able to use him in the passing game, but also he ran it a few times as well. They're going to have to get him more involved. He's going to have to become a bigger part of this offense, which is crazy to think. But he did only have 4 catches in this game, so I want to see them get him more involved. And just see Mahomes get more time because, quite frankly, the Bills' blitzes were well-timed. They threw Mahomes off more often than not and forced a lot of errant throws, which we're not used to seeing from Mahomes. He was just 15 to 34. He had almost 20 incomplete passes, which is crazy to think. So, again, all credit to me goes to Buffalo's defense from that standpoint. And then Josh Allen was just picked apart this Chiefs secondary. And the Bills were able to do whatever they want on offense. There was no resistance in this game, and I think I'm definitely concerned for the Kansas City defense moving forward if they're gonna play this way. Even guys like Nick Bolton that I know that Carlos has talked about over and over, who usually ball out, he did not have a good game either. And even when he blitzed, like he likes to do, and like they like to dial up that sort of blitz from the secondary, the Bills picked it up, and Josh Allen was able to get rid of the ball. And so, to me, this was just an example of one team just being ready. One team had the better game plan, had the better scheme, but the biggest thing for me was execution. The Bills executed on both sides of the ball to the fullest extent, and they're a scary team now at 6-2. They, to me, could be the number 1 seed in the AFC at the end of the season, and teams that have to go there in the playoffs, good luck. It's a tough place to go and win. But on the flip side of that, I think if Kansas City can right the ship here a little bit, they're going to get some wins, right? We knew this game was going to be tough for Kansas City to go on the road to beat Buffalo. We could see this matchup again in the playoffs. The question I think I have, and I think is in the back of everyone's minds, can Kansas City go on the road and beat this team in the playoffs? That, to me, is the biggest question on a lot of people's minds if both these teams do see each other again. Because right now it looks like to me, we could be seeing Kansas City have to be road warriors again in the postseason, which could be a concern. But I think if anyone can figure it out, if anyone can adjust, it's Andy Reid and it's Patrick Mahomes and this Chiefs team. They've done it a million times before. They faced some adversity pretty much in every season. They made a deep playoff run, or a Super Bowl run, I should say, because that's basically what it's been. I think they can get it sorted out. But I do have some concerns, especially defensively, and I think I have a lot of questions about this passing game, quite frankly, and can they turn that around as well? Got to give credit to Buffalo. Shorthanded on defense, to me, the key to the game was them getting pressure on Mahomes, forcing him to make a lot of errant throws, which we're not used to seeing. And then on the other side of the ball, Josh Allen was able to do whatever he wanted in this game. It was like he's playing on rookie mode. I haven't pulled that one out in a while. I've been keeping that one in the back of my head. So those are my thoughts, overall thoughts. Again, I wish we could hear what Carlos has to say about this performance from the Chiefs. Not their best performance, obviously. But again, I'm not hitting the panic button or the alert button because I think they can get it figured out because they've done it before. So, those are kind of my overall thoughts.
You mentioned concern for the Chiefs, which I agree with you, but I feel like if this was any other team besides the Chiefs, the cause for concern would be even greater.
100%.
Because the Chiefs, they're seasoned, they've been to multiple Super Bowls, and they know how to fix stuff like this. And it's not every year you can sustain the amount of high-level success that you've had. Losing a couple games is normal, in my opinion. But I feel like the sooner you get this fixed, the sooner this Chiefs team has an opportunity to try to make a push to get the highest possible seed that they can. Because I'm not sure if you agree with me here, but I feel like the AFC is a lot stronger than the NFC when it comes to the playoffs.
1,000%. And just pretty good teams across the board, across the four divisions. So it's not going to be easy for Kansas City to turn this around. I mean, 5-4 is wild to think about. I don't think I ever would have thought they'd be 5-4 at this point. Maybe 7-2. Maybe they've lost 3 games at this point, but 4 losses by early November is crazy to think about for Kansas City. I think for me, what I want to see is, and what I'll be interested to see is where are they a month from now, right? Like we all know, November has been a very favorable month for Kansas City, historically speaking, when they've put it all together. How do they bounce back from this? I think, like you said, any other team, we'd be hitting the panic button, right? At this point, it would be like, okay, this might not be a playoff team, but Kansas City has shown just when people start to doubt them is what kind of feeds that fire inside of them to come out and to prove everyone wrong. So I think that could be what happens, in this situation. I think Andy Reid and company will bounce back, but maybe not. It's been weird. It's been a weird season. But yeah, I'm not ready to fully hit the panic button quite yet. I think Kansas City's still got plenty of time to get things sorted out.
I'm curious your thoughts. I think with a big performance like this from Josh Allen, maybe a chance at another conversation for MVP. I know it's still early in the season, but again, Josh Allen looks very good in big moment, big game situations like this consistently.
100%. And, even in their losses, he's still played pretty well. I think right now he's definitely up there. I don't know who the front runner is. I mean, selfishly as a Ravens fan, I think if Lamar takes this team on a playoff run, he could, with his numbers especially, he could be the MVP. But Josh Allen, it's hard to find many quarterbacks playing better than him right now. And really, this year in the NFL, there's really not another player that you could say has really put the team on their back to lead them to so many wins. And Josh Allen's done that. So, I think right now if he's not the front runner, he's pretty close. And it'd be crazy. We'd be talking about another back-to-back MVP which we saw previously, of course. I think it's definitely possible. But again, for the Bills, I think the key for me is, can they keep this success up? We used to joke the Bills were the September champs, and that was kind of the repeating theme. Like people would get fired up about them. Now they're playing really good football in November when it really starts to matter. It really starts to make a big impact and a big difference. And Josh Allen is certainly the leader of this team, the unabashed leader. And I could see him winning the MVP, quite frankly, if he continues to play at this level and take the Bills to that number 1 seed, which I think is certainly, with what, give or take 9 weeks left to go in the season, certainly very possible for this team right now.
Yeah, another point. We are at the midway point of the season. So that's another good point I forgot to bring up at the top. But the Bills with a victory over the Chiefs coming next week, hopefully the Chiefs look to bounce back, and the Bills again looking to see them play some more meaningful football when it comes to the playoffs, since I know the conversation has started about the playoffs halfway through the season and where the teams are looking. So it's going to be a lot of fun. Dan, get ready, because we have a lot to talk about in this next segment. We're going to take another quick break, and when we return, the Commanders falling to the Seattle Seahawks, and a lot more. Don't forget, later on in the show, the Kirby on Sports Pick. I'm so glad you're with us. Guys, Josh Kirby here with my friends at Frederick County Parks and Recreation, the title sponsor of Kirby on Sports. Winter basketball, one of their most exciting sports leagues, tipping off here soon. Registration is open until November 10th. The Thanksgiving Day 5K, one of the biggest races of the year, and the New York City trip that Parks and Recreation offers each and every winter. If you're interested in any of those or even more activities that Parks and Recreation has to offer, you can visit their website at fcprd.net for more information.
The Cider House is now open on East Piccadilly Street in downtown Winchester. The Cider House is open starting at noon Wednesday to Sunday. Stop in for a wide variety of ciders on draft, as well as 4 Virginia beers, wine, and ready-to-drink canned cocktails. Don't miss our lunch specials featuring our house salad. We also have dinner specials too. Stop in today at the Cider House, located on Piccadilly Street in downtown Winchester.
All right, it is time. Episode 235 of the Kirby on Sports podcast. We must discuss the Seahawks victory over the Washington Commanders, blowout fashion, 38-14. Here's the deal, Dan. If you think we need to press the Kirby's Corner button, I will. You know. But I think these complaints are sound, justified. Let's start off with the gameplay. Seattle coming in red hot to start off the game and just making every single little thing happen for this team. They go up huge early before the Commanders can even get a point on the scoreboard. Credit to the Seahawks. I'll get into them more a little bit later. But, I mean, just where can I even start? Offensively, the Commanders not giving any time. The offensive line seemed to be struggling a lot. And that was evident because Jaden Daniels was rushing the football constantly. Yeah, I mean, you give it to Chris Rodriguez, 65 yards. And I don't think Bill Krosky-Merritt got over 100 yards rushing. He only got 38 yards. So Jaden Daniels was the second leading rusher with 51 yards and a rushing
10 rushes,
yeah.
Which is the biggest problem, of course.
So the offensive line did not do their job. Defensively, Was there any defense? Did you watch the game? Did you see any defense, Dan? It was pretty bad.
3 plays in the end zone, like 4 times in a row, maybe.
Yeah, I mean,
there was no defense at all.
Jackson, Smith, and Jigba, Horton for the Seahawks. They were just shredding the Commanders' defense. Not to mention injuries to Marshawn Lattimore out for the season, Luke McCaffrey out for the season. So that.
Adding to the season from hell for you all, which we have talked about.
Yes.
Hits one team, right? One team usually gets that season from hell, injuries that are nonstop, and just dysfunction, and that's been the Commanders so far this season.
So it's been the same stuff we've been talking about week in and week out. I feel like the offensive line just not doing their job at all. Defensive line creating next to no pressure. That's not gonna win you a football game. The nail on the coffin. The Commanders are getting blown out 38-7, and in the red zone, Jaden Daniels decides to scramble, going down and dislocating his elbow. The season from hell. Let me say, why are we in a position? Why am I in a position where I have to talk about my favorite football team and losing our starting quarterback with a dislocated elbow when you are down 38-7? Who's coming back down 38-7 in a football game? And Jaden Daniels is running, could have handed the football off, but Jaden Daniels is a competitor and does what he does and moves with his feet, gets tackled awkwardly and dislocates his elbow. I saw the replay. It looked gruesome.
Brutal.
Why is he out there when there's no point? You're not going to win the football game. Dan Quinn took accountability because that's 100% his fault.
It's on the head coach. Yep.
It's his fault. And that's the part that really aggravated me. You know, a blowout loss, Jaden Daniels running for his life, not getting injured. Okay, I'll move on because it's been the same shit week in and week out, pardon my French. But for Dan Quinn to say, just to let it be Jaden Daniels out there when there is no point and no possibility of this team coming back down 38-7, somebody's got to answer for that. He apologized in his presser, but it's absolutely ridiculous. And to make a season from bad to worse, you might not have Jaden Daniels the rest of the season, which I'm okay with. There's a 1% chance of making the playoffs. Roll with Mark.
No, it's over.
Yeah,
it's over.
And you have to protect your franchise investment, or else in the next 2 to 3 seasons, you're looking at another first-round quarterback in the draft because you mismanaged Jaden Daniels. I don't want to say this is RG3 2.0, but it sure does seem like it at this point, which I thought with new ownership, new management, and a competent head coach, that wouldn't happen. But again, here we are with the oldest roster, oldest team in the National Football League, a ton of injuries piling up, and a coach who decided to bring his starting quarterback out when there was absolutely no reason for him to be out. Granted, he was dealing with a hamstring injury that sidelined him the week before. Marcus Mariota, that's another blowout in Kansas City. And when you're getting blown out, you decide to trot him back out with no purpose whatsoever.
Yeah, it's I can't make sense of it, quite frankly. I've tried to think of what to say, and there's really no other reason than it's malpractice from Dan Quinn and the coaching staff to even have him out there in that situation.
Everybody agrees too. David Aldridge put out an amazing article on The Athletic about it too.
Yeah.
And I think it was him or somebody else. You look on the Commanders' website, look at how many coaches there are. and not one of them said, hey, why don't we just put Marcus Mariota in? And now there's a situation where the team's coming out, there's a cast on his arm. Jaden wants no part of that card, and he has to literally take a walk of shame to the locker room.
Yeah, it's brutal. Yeah, I mean, we said it at the top. It's been the season from hell, right? They've had so many injuries, and we've talked about the concerns with the defense, the age of the defense, the fact that they are simply not very good. And not only are they not good, they are historically bad, especially against the pass.
This is probably the worst I've ever seen it.
It's one of the worst defenses they've definitely ever had that I can recall, especially.
It makes the NFC Championship game last year fool's gold.
Well, it's worse when you're playing a team that's not, the Eagles of last year, who were the best team in the NFL probably. Well, obviously they won the Super Bowl. But, yeah, I think you nailed all of it. I think the concerns to me are real, right? This is a team that has not won a lot of football games this year. Even when Jaden Daniels has played, they only one win, I think, for Jaden Daniels this season. And again, a lot of that is not on him. I will say I think the only game that I could say that is, I mean, he's only thrown 2 picks this season, so you can't really say he's costed them very much necessarily.
It's just the support around him is not that good.
There's nothing there. There's nothing there, and they've had key injuries in key spots. We've seen, guys like Terry McLaurin, who really is not. He hasn't played. Like, he hasn't played, and he hasn't made that big of an impact for them as they were hoping. He was out for this game as well, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah,
he's going to be out a couple more weeks maybe.
He might not be available for the Detroit game or for the game in Madrid against the Dolphins.
At least 2 weeks, yeah, maybe longer. So that's killed them as well, right? Not having any depth at the receiver position, where you have to have Zach Ertz be your leading receiver, which is never a good sign.
I mean, Ertz is a competitor. I like where he's coming from, but he's getting flagged way too much. The penalties were a consistent issue as well. Consistent drive killers.
Yeah, and just the miscues, right? They can't get out of their way, especially early on in the game that allowed Seattle to really start to dominate. It was really just the miscues from the Commanders that allowed that to happen. So, yeah, I mean, I agree with what everyone has said. I think it's kind of run its course on social media now that everyone kind of agrees that this is not only the season from hell, but that you have to protect Jaden Daniels. You have to protect your franchise quarterback. You're down by 31 points in the fourth quarter. Why are you even considering playing him? Not to mention you've had a backup quarterback that's had some real playing time this year, who it's not like he's coming off the practice squad or he hasn't played any real games. Like, he's got significant starting time this season because of the injuries to Jaden Daniels previously. So, yeah, and like you said, I've seen a lot of comparisons to RG3. I think this is a different situation in that, we're not dealing with an ACL necessarily, which is something you really have to be careful with, and something you can, that can happen over and over again. But this is a concern, certainly for Jaden Daniels in his career. Obviously, the injury was on his non-throwing arm, so I guess that's a good sign if you want to take some sort of levity out of the situation and kind of see what are the positives about it. But yeah, this Washington team for me, it's the injuries, it's the scheme from this offense, which is just not producing at all. No matter who the quarterback has been, quite frankly, it hasn't been good enough. And then on defense, a historically bad defense. They're not going to win many games, I think, for the rest of the season for those reasons. And Carlos has mentioned this. Like, you're going from playing a last-place schedule last year. You were the underdog team. You surprised a lot of people to winning the division, or not winning the division, rather, but playing a second place in your division schedule, which has made things a lot tougher for Washington and has just kind of compounded this season from hell, right? Like, you're playing a lot tougher opponents. You're playing a lot better teams. You're not going to be the underdog as much now. And this was embarrassing. Let's just call it what it is. This game was embarrassing. This is a game you just throw things away. it's a 31-0 game at halftime, right? Like, this game was out of hand before the second quarter was even over. So I don't really know where they go from here. I think you're talking about what could be a team with a top 5 pick next year in April. We'll see. But there's just way too many issues right now. I think I agree with your point about Jaden Daniels. You have to rest him until he's 1,000%. And I think even at that level, the season's lost. So maybe you just don't play him the rest of the season. I'm not sure if he's going to want that necessarily or what.
He won't want it, but that choice isn't up to him.
Yeah, that's true.
That's how I see it.
It's on the coaching staff, and again, that's been another issue this year. We talked about how great Dan Quinn was last year, right? He led this team to a playoff appearance, to an NFC title game, and reality hits you fast in the NFL. And you said it earlier, it is hard to find sustained success. And we talked about this with the Commanders fans. You have to realize that making it to the NFC Championship game in one season is more than most teams ever do. Doing it consistently or being able to follow it up with a playoff run or with a really solid season just doesn't look like it's in the cards this year with the injuries and all the issues they have on both sides of the ball. But I think you covered it well. I really do. I think I'm not going to say hit the button on this Kirby's Complaint Corner because I understand how you're feeling. It's a very tough situation. It's one thing to lose. It's another thing to get blown out at home in prime time with everyone watching. Obviously, my mind goes back to the Monday night game against Philadelphia in 2010 or whenever that was against Michael Vick, where you all got embarrassed 59 to whatever it was, 17 or whatever. Not quite to that level, obviously, but a very similar vibe for this game. So it's almost like the Commanders have taken 4 steps back after last year taking 3 steps forward as an organization. But this is the reality of the NFL. And all the issues you mentioned, the age on the defense, the lack of depth, the fact that they don't get any pressure. They get 0 pressure, right? Like Sam Darnold was able to just make a Thanksgiving meal in the pocket in this game. It was crazy. I know we're a couple weeks early with the Thanksgiving puns, but I figured I'd start us out. Yeah, it's all those issues compounding that have led to this season from hell from Washington, I think.
You got to sit Jaden. I mean, there's no ifs, ands, or buts about even thinking about bringing him back this season in hopes that he can continue being a competitor in year 3 and beyond.
Which nothing is a guarantee, right?
Yeah.
And we talked about this too. Like, it's pretty apparent that he has to bulk up. Like, I mean, I'm not saying that's what caused this injury or it was a freak injury, right? The way he landed, but he's gonna have to get bigger if he's gonna be a consistent quarterback in the NFL. We've seen quarterbacks like Lamar Jackson who are mobile, who have had to do that same thing. I think Jaden Daniels is going to have to do that as well if he wants to, sustain success in the NFL. Because that's a concern as well. You want to make sure he's able to, brave these defenses and brave a lot of these hits. So I think that's something that will have to be addressed in this offseason as well. But there's so many issues with this team. There's not one area right now where I can look and say they have this figured out. Right, they have defense figured. I mean, their defense is historically bad. They might finish the season as one of the worst defenses, at least in the modern era of the NFL, if not worse. So it starts there. You have to address the defense, and I think offensively, the offensive line has to be something you have to address because Jaden Daniels was under pressure too much time in this game, and it led to what it led to as well. So. Yeah, a lot of concerns for this Washington team, and they don't get solved anytime soon. I don't think with the injuries they've had, with all the issues. And Dan Quinn has taken a step back as well, along with his team, unfortunately. So a lot of very tough things they're going to have to turn around completely if they're going to salvage the season. But I don't think it's going to happen.
I'm not sure how patient usually an NFL franchise is, but I have a feeling somebody might be on the hot seat soon for stuff like this. Joe Witt has already been moved down to the sideline from the coach's box. So that's the first step. And defensively, I'm like, well, the defense just hasn't been performing that well. So I'm not sure. I mean, I'm not going to come out and say that Dan Quinn will be fired, but I feel like somebody will have to be accountable for something with this season. And I feel like somebody might be on the hot seat for it. I'm just not sure who. Maybe Joe Witt Jr., but I think a change, if Adam Peters is the real deal with Josh Harrison, they want a successful football team, they're going to make changes sooner rather than later and not wait around for success to come to the Commanders. The Commanders would have to chase that success. So those are my thoughts there.
Well, and Cliff Kingsbury hasn't been.
Cliff Kingsbury's
he's
probably going to get a head coaching job next year. If I had to guess, I think a team's going to chase him next year.
Maybe in college. There's a lot of college openings this offseason coming, so I could see that. But I think it makes the most sense. Maybe both coordinators are let go. I do give a little bit of leniency to Joe Witt just because they've dealt with so many injuries.
Yeah.
In that area, you have guys playing that I have to look up. Like, I've never heard of these guys before. And I definitely think you could put more of the blame on Cliff Kingsbury because this offense is just not it right now. And obviously now you have injuries on the offensive side of the ball, obviously losing your franchise quarterback for most likely the season. We don't really know. There's no timetable yet for Jaden Daniels' return. But, yeah, it's a multi-prong-ish concern for this team. I don't think Dan Quinn is going to get fired. Now, it depends on how next year goes, right? Once you get into year 3, you want to see some improvement. Obviously, last year, he exceeded expectations by a mile. No one expected them to be in the NFC title game last year. So I think for that reason, you give, and this ownership group gives a little bit of some leniency to Dan Quinn. But there's no area of their football, as I said a few minutes ago, there's no area of this football team right now where I'm looking at it and I'm saying I like what they do there, or I like their personnel, or I like their scheme. There's not one area. So they have to fix pretty much everything, I think, right now. And those coordinators are definitely going to be on the hot seat as well.
I mean, the only positive that I feel I can take out of this game that really stood out to me, Dan, and I didn't get a chance to mention the group message because I fell asleep, were those damn uniforms, man. Oh my gosh.
Yeah. They look good. And they should definitely, and I know Carlos mentioned this too, they should definitely keep those as their regular uniforms. Both the home and away. Like the regular Commanders, I'm not a huge fan of. But yeah, that was the one positive, was they wore the old uniforms. They looked really good. And it's always been a good uniform. So I think they should keep those. But it doesn't matter if the team on the field wearing them is not performing at all. So
it was too bad the team got blown out on the night of Art Monk's jersey retirement.
Yeah, good point.
On the other hand, I don't think this Seattle Seahawks team is getting much of any credit for what they have been doing. This team last year was a 10-win team that didn't make the playoffs, and look how good this Seattle Seahawks team is looking. I don't care if they went up against the Commanders with so many issues. They looked very, very, very good. And I feel like this Seattle Seahawks team could surprise as a potential contender.
Yeah, and they're led by Sam Darnold. He's played so well this season, and on the other side of that, like, their defense has also been really good. I think having a head coach in Mike McDonald that has that experience being a defensive coordinator in the NFL has really helped their defense kind of retool and regroup for what they have been. But yeah, this is a 6-2 team right now, right? They're also undefeated on the road, so they've been kind of the road warriors so far this year. There's a ton to like about this Seattle team. And out there in the NFC West, I mean, outside of the Rams, which have been kind of up and down as well, I think Seattle could definitely be the favorite to win that division. I guess the 49ers as well, but I'm not sold on the 49ers either. I think right now the Seahawks are the most talented team in that division for sure, and I think you have to take that take that how it is, quite frankly.
Yeah, I think just looking at the Seahawks, I mean, continuing, they're just not getting enough recognition, I don't think. And I think hopefully that will change because they're, I have a feeling they're going to get very red hot. And again, I could be wrong here, but just a prediction I have based on what I've seen about this Seahawks team. It's, you know, that's what I think on it.
Yep, I would agree with that.
So enough with that. I'm glad it wasn't a Kirby's Complaint Corner button kind of episode, but the Commanders, it's gonna be tough. The schedule before we move on for the Commanders: the Lions at home 425, chalking that up as a loss. If the Commanders don't beat the Dolphins in Madrid, that's rock bottom. That's rock bottom. I'm just going to say right there. Then the bye week: Broncos, Vikings, Giants, Eagles. So still
really tough schedule.
It's a tough schedule. So it's
after that bye week as well.
We will have to wait and see, that is for sure. But that concludes the home team report, wrapping up as the Commanders fall at home on Sunday night to the Seattle Seahawks. Coming up next, the best segment on the Kirby on Sports podcast, the Kirby on Sports Pick'em. You don't want to miss it. We will be right back. Fall is here, and New Look Landscaping has everything your home needs to look its best. Brighten your yard with colorful mums available now. And don't forget, New Look offers professional power washing to give your home a fresh, clean look. Call New Look Landscaping today at 540-327-1244 or email them 2025.nullook@gmail.com. Are you looking to take the final steps in order to get your driver's license? Look no further. On the Road Driving School offers teen and adult driving, along with classroom sessions for teens and adults, DMV re-exam classes, and driver improvement classes. On the Road Driving School has what you need in order to get on the road. Contact them today at 540-869-6105. That's On the Road Driving School. 540-869-6105. On the Road Driving School will get you on the road. It is the best segment on the Kirby on Sports podcast, episode 235, the Kirby on Sports Pick'em. So I'm going to do the best I can. Carlos might ridicule me the next episode on how I do things. Dan, bear with me. We're going to try our very best to make this segment the best that it has been. And I will acknowledge, for the record, Carlos is a three-time reigning, defending Kirby on Sports Pick'em champion, just for the record.
Have to get that in for sure.
Yes, we do. Just so they know. All right, so here's the Pick'em graphic for week number 10. It's heating up, and I'm just going to start by saying this. I mean, the Cowboys, again, losing on Monday Night Football. We all picked them. I can't even trust picking the Dallas Cowboys when I think that's an easy game that's in the bag.
Yeah.
That's just me. So
yeah, it was embarrassing.
The standings for into week 10. Carlos in first place, 32-21. You, Dan, are in second place, 31-22. And I'm in third place, 30-23. So spread out a little bit, all by one game.
Really good. Really good matchup between the three of us this year.
Yeah. That is the way the standings look if you're on our audio platforms. Carlos in first place, Dan in second place, I am in third place. So the games that we are picking from this week in the Kirby on Sports Pick'em: the Green Bay Packers and the Philadelphia Eagles, Los Angeles and Pittsburgh, Tampa Bay and New England, Minnesota and Baltimore, Indianapolis and Atlanta, San Francisco and the Los Angeles Rams. Carlos is not in the building, so I will offer his picks
Go
for
ahead.
this week. The Carlos will be picking the Eagles over the Green Bay Packers, the Chargers over the Steelers, the Patriots over the Buccaneers. He will also be picking the Ravens over the Vikings, the Colts over the Falcons, and the Rams over the 49ers. So I don't have his reasoning for them, but those are his picks. Dan, let's send it to you, the esteemed number 2 on this Kirby on Sports podcast. Let's hear your thoughts on your picks.
Yeah, so I'm going to start with taking the Philadelphia Eagles on the road over the Green Bay Packers. I just think right now I don't really know whether to trust Green Bay, and I think Philadelphia is going to start to get hot here in early November. So I will be taking the Eagles over the Packers. I'm going to take the Chargers over the Steelers. This is kind of a tough one, but I think the Steelers going on the road creates a little bit of a challenge for Pittsburgh to be able to win this game. Let me see. And that's the Sunday night game, I believe. Yes. That's the Sunday night game. So I think Justin Herbert and the Chargers have a good game, and I think they're able to figure out the Steelers blitz and the Steelers defense a little bit in this game better than better than in the last game. I can't remember again. The Colts. I'm sorry. Better than the Colts are able to figure it out. I think Justin Herbert in this offense would be able to sort that out. I'll be taking the Buccaneers over the Patriots. This is a tough game and maybe one of the toughest games to pick this week on the Pick'ems because both teams are playing so well. Looking at New England's schedule, this is going to be a real test for them, right? This is going to be the real kind of litmus test where we see what they're made of. Going on the road in a hostile environment against the Buccaneers, which I believe the Buccaneers are coming off a bye week. Let me double check that. Yes. Yeah, the Bucs are coming off a bye week. Extra rest. I think that favors them, and being at home against a pretty young New England team. I think this is going to be one of the best games of the week. I think it's going to be super close, super competitive. But with the Bucs coming off the extra rest, playing at home, I kind of like them taking down the Patriots in this matchup. I will be taking the Baltimore Ravens over the Minnesota Vikings, first of all, because I am contractually obligated. And I think this is a very winnable game for the Ravens. If they continue to do the things they did this past week, I think they'll be able to take care of the Vikings. Could come down to the end. Another exciting finish for them, but I think they'll get it done. I will be taking the Colts over the Falcons. Colts obviously coming back home after their trip to Pittsburgh last week. I think they bounced back nicely here and take down a struggling Atlanta team, which really has not been able to find their footing this season. And quite frankly, that's been a disappointment and a mess at the quarterback position. So I'll take the Colts there. And then last but not least, I will be taking the Rams over the 49ers. Rams are just the better team. Niners are obviously... I think the Niners are competitive, right? The Niners have been good in spots, and you got to like the way that that Mac Jones has been playing for them right now. But I think right now the Rams are the better football team. I think they're able to get this very good divisional win on the road in at San Francisco. So that is why I'll be taking the Rams. And with that, I will throw it over to you, Josh Kirby, for your picks for Week 10.
Week 10, thank you very much, Dan. I will be picking the Philadelphia Eagles against the Green Bay Packers. Coming off a bye week, I think that's really going to help the Philadelphia Eagles in my mind, and I am picking the Philadelphia Eagles. I look for the Steelers to continue that trend. They looked very good last week against the Colts. This is a tough one, as you said, Dan, but I think the Steelers come in and beat the Los Angeles Chargers. So I think it's going to be a very close and competitive game. I think the Buccaneers, I think they look like they're looking pretty good. I know some injuries have hit them, but I think they can easily take on the Patriots. The Patriots are a tough team, but I think the Buccaneers just have the slight edge over the Patriots in this matchup. That's why I'm taking the Bucs. I'll be taking the Ravens. I see them looking to continue their winning streak over the Minnesota Vikings. I'll take the Colts over the Falcons, and the Rams, again, looking at Matthew Stafford and what this offense has been doing recently. I like the Rams over the San Francisco 49ers, who have been shaky at times. So with that, those are my picks on the Kirby on Sports Pick'em.
Some interesting, most of us this week are in agreement with several games. I will say, obviously, your division with Carlos is not that far off, 2 games, and you picked 2 games differently than him. Obviously, taking the Bucs over the Patriots and taking the Steelers, which over the Chargers. If you get those 2 picks right, you could. What's math? Anyways, it could turn out to work very well in your favor. Obviously, Carlos and I only have one different pick, which is also Tampa Bay and New England. So it's starting to heat up, and I think it's just interesting we all have similar picks because this season has been so weird with upsets and just teams winning who shouldn't have won. So could see more of that this week, could see more of a shakeup in the Week 10 pick'em, but that's kind of my overall thought with this. It's starting to heat up, starting to get interesting. We're all one game apart, so it should be fun to watch.
So let's take a look at this point last year in the NFL. Kirby on Sports Pick'em. So this time last year, Week 10, Carlos with a record of 36-18.
That's impressive.
My friend, a record of 37-17. And I was at 35-19.
Yeah, so we were all pretty close within 2 games of each other. That's crazy that my record was that good.
Yeah.
Last year there were less upsets. I think that's what it was. And I was just picking who I thought was the favorite team.
But it seems like, there is some movement, but you were in first at that point, Carlos in second, and I was slightly behind in third. But this year, the margin is very close come the Week 10 at the midway point of the NFL season. So still a lot of football left to be played in order to see how this shakes out in the Kirby on Sports Pick'em.
Absolutely. It's exciting. It's going to come down to the end again. I just have a feeling that it's going to come down to the end to see if one of us can steal Carlos's coveted wrestling belt. But it's been hard to come by so far in the history of us doing this. So we'll see what happens. It's going to be fun.
So that is the Kirby on Sports Pick'em for Week 10 of the NFL season. Again, a huge shout out to all of our sponsors: Frederick County Parks and Rec, PM Plus Reserves, Shenandoah Primitives, Mark Francis with Icon Real Estate, Bear Pest and Termite Services, Mark Lynch with Guild Mortgage, Shenandoah Music, Icon Media, On the Road Driving School, New Look Landscaping, The Cider House, Barry Pearson with Equipment Share Advanced Solutions at 540-935-1069. Don't forget about Don't Sleep Energy, the official energy drink sponsor of the Kirby on Sports podcast. Use promo code KOS Podcast for 12% off your order every single time. We sure didn't miss Carlos, but this was fun, Dan, here on episode 235 of the Kirby on Sports podcast. I'm excited for another week of NFL football that lies just ahead, my friend.
Should be another exciting week. Can't wait to see how we react to some of the wild games that are probably up and coming in Week 10 of the NFL. Thank you all so much for listening to us, of course, and that's all I got. Back to you, Kirby.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting the way it's been trending with a lot of close games to see how it continues in the later stretch of the season. So with that, thank you to all of our sponsors once again. Make sure you find us www.kirbyonsports.com. We're all on all listening platforms, so make sure you follow us and give us a follow. And subscribe to us on YouTube, our YouTube channel where we do all the video content as well. Make sure you drop a comment as well. For the weapon, Dan Dembski, I am Josh Kirby. Thank you so much for spending some of your day with us here on episode 235 of the Kirby on Sports podcast. Until the next time, we wish you a great rest of your week, and we will catch you next week to recap week 10 of the NFL season. Stay safe, everybody, and we will talk to you soon.